Day Dawns ARKS! Welcome everyone to your weekly Phantasy Star Online 2 podcast recorded live on September 13th, 2020. I'm one of your hosts, PrinceBrightstar, and with me is Zance21. Go ahead and say hello.
Hello there! How's it going?
So, kind of an interesting week. We had a new PSO2 Station Plus drop earlier this week. We've also had a little bit of radio silence from the global side for some reason this week, aside from a couple of things that they posted. So, I don't know what that means, if that means they're prepping to launch episode 5 next week, or if our initial thoughts of it being on the 30th is going to be correct here. It's really up in the air at this point here.
Yep, and the evidence that points to it being the 30th is the mission path ends on the 30th.
Completely agree with you there. That's the big thing that's pointing that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is next week, then what we would miss out on is, one, a new Extreme Quest, which would be really unusual because it's already on the list of titles that you can get, plus the rings associated with that you can also get once you get the associated drops from there. Plus, we would also be missing out on a series of what were called training quests at the time, which took you through individual quests related to episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a combined episode 1 to 4 quest at the end of it all.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we had for the launch, or rather, leading up to the launch of episode 5 on the Japanese side. So, we'll have to see how that all plays out here. It's possible it could happen like that still, and I don't know, maybe we'd get like Rising Weapon Badge number 4s or something.
I don't know. It's probably going to be Rising Weapon Badge level 4, and it'll probably be like an item that you can then later upgrade.
Possibly.
I'm just speculating.
I don't know if we would get the IDOLA units from that though, since that came from the Buster quests. If anything, I would expect with the Rising Weapon Badge 4, we might actually start to see those solo triggers though.
Which I would greatly appreciate, because I like doing the solo fights a lot, but I'm usually not on during when the UQ hits.
Yeah, so definitely, I'm hoping that it comes out that way as well, that we get those soon. Because, I mean, they also got to start looking at when they're going to put out the expert requirements and such. I mean, we're technically...
expert requirements. That's a thing.
We're technically past the point of when expert originally came out on the Japanese side, because that came out in episode 4, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You had to take down the first of the Heaven and Earth, the first 5 stages on that, I think, to qualify.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that was it back then. And then it was the upgraded one after episode 5, the Phantasm one, and then later on after that, then it became, okay, you have to do this solo, you can't do it as a party.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, we'll see how everything plays out here, but, yeah, it's just been radio silence aside from a couple of things this week here, which we'll get into shortly from the global side, but the majority of this show is actually going to be focusing more on the Japanese side this week.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of information that came out this past week.
Agreed. But before we get into any of that here, why don't we go ahead and talk about our weekly, what we did over the past week in gaming. My focus this week has basically been on PSO2, going through a bunch of the Deus quests to try to get those titles together. I'm almost at 30 kills now on him for the associated title that's going to come with that. Although those runs are longer than other runs, just because it's not just taking out Deus. It's you have to fight Deus, and then you run up the tree, then you fight Deus again, and then you fight him again as Orochi, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't done the follow-up fight yet. Have you done that?
Yeah, it's basically it's the same thing as the original fight. Rather the last phase of the original fight. Mm-hmm. It's just you can't go down in your party more than 5 times or else everybody fails. And my recommendation for that is if you're having trouble with that, grab a bunch of guts drinks, and if you're having trouble beating the DPS timer at that point, then just look at whoever has the least DPS and get them to have the shift to drink instead.
Yeah. And also go with people that you actually know actually how to play the game.
I would agree with that. Unless you're able to just carry the whole group, definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. Like, I can only do so much as a bouncer.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of downtime in that fight. Deus is sort of known as the time waster of bosses.
Yeah, because of all the times that he's, like, backed away and you can't hit him. Just have to
Exactly.
dodge.
Yeah, I mean, you might get lucky with a rifle hitting his weak point, but it's never going to be a ton of damage that you do there.
Nah, and most of the time it's going to be one.
Exactly. Because that whole area is protected aside from like one or two small points.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, I also hopped on to Final Fantasy XIV this week and worked on getting some weekly tomestones together. Still don't have my full 5.3 set yet, so it's still a work in progress at this point. I'm hoping to at least have it all together by the time 5.4 comes out.
Alright. Well, Savage is now uncapped, so if you need help with doing those, you can just send me a message. I can join a party for that.
I've never been one for Savage. If anything, the one thing that's kind of got my interest is going to be the Bajj in front, which is coming in 5.35.
Yeah, that's going to be for upgrading this expansion's equivalent of a relic weapon.
Exactly. But we'll have
I'm
to see.
excited for that as well.
Go ahead.
I'm excited for that as well.
Yep. I never started the series on that, so I gotta go first through whatever the leading quests were for that.
You have 1,000 tomes, and it's basically just 1,000 tomes, like the really basic ones. You get 4 items each, like 4 items of it. It totals 1,000 tomes, and then you trade that for the weapon.
Gotcha. I mean, I haven't even done the quest yet.
Okay. It's really easy.
Okay. Alright, but that was pretty much my gaming week. How are you doing for your gaming week this week, Zance?
Sonic. A lot of Sonic.
That's right, you wanted to take a look at Sage last week.
Yep, and oh boy, was there a lot of Sonic. Not just Sonic, but a bunch of other fan games and indie games too. So, and the website is still up. Sage has officially passed by now, but all those games are still available to download whenever off of the Sonic Fan Games HQ.
Gotcha. Do they typically include mods with that show?
Yes, there are mods as well. Mostly Sonic Mania mods, of course, but there were a few, like one of them for Streets of Rage.
I'm kind of curious now if a particular mod called Totino's Madness showed up or not.
It did not.
Oh well. If you don't know what we're talking
about, that mod.
Say again?
I know about that mod.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about here, Totino's Madness is based on the idea of the fact that Totino's ended up sponsoring a Sega event where I think it was Sonic Madness was first teased or announced or something like that. And the high-quality ripping group Siva Gunner has been working on basically creating all these different rips of the Sonic Mania, Sonic Mania music over the past several years, and they finally released a full mod for the thing with all the music.
Yeah, it's glorious.
Yep. Yep, especially when you eat one of the Totinos and it gives you that nice chomp.
And I believe, like, the Totino song, is that from a Tim and Eric skit?
I think so. I never caught the original, so I'm not 100% certain on that.
Let's see here.
I think that sounds right though. That it was Tim and Eric. But while you're looking that up, what else did you check out from Sage?
Well, there were some pretty impressive fan games that I played. Sancho Gomez, I think it was called. It's hard to remember some of the names of these because there was just so many. Brock Crocodile is one that I really enjoyed. Delta Gal looks like a promising Mega Man Legends inspiration. Dunker is a lot of fun. Outclass Hunter crashed on me. There's a lot of these games where it's clear that it was just like an alpha build, so there's going to be a lot of crashes. Like I found a soft lock in Victory Heat Rally, and I just had to completely reset the game because of that.
Gotcha.
But most of these show a lot of promise, and I'm really excited for some of these to get finished. Plus, there is the Sonic hacking contest going to be coming up soon.
And what's the idea behind that one?
It's an actual contest of Sonic hacks. So people submit Sonic hacks of any of the Sonic games, and they do get judged.
Okay.
And in separate different categories. There is also a expo part of that for showing more of the quote-unquote shitpost hacks.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember a while ago I was seeing like some hacks of Sonic Generations, I think, that was like importing some of like the what was it? The Sonic. Oh, I can't even remember which game it was, but it was basically importing stages from other games into the engine.
Mm-hmm. There's the Unleashed. The most well-known is the Unleashed project.
That sounds right. Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's all the Sonic Unleashed stages in the Genesis engine, or in the Generations engine. It's pretty faithful.
All right.
Yeah, other than that, more Final Fantasy 11. I'm finally getting into some of the endgame stuff after I got my Summoner to level 67.
Nice.
Yeah. I actually start that on Wednesday, so I'm excited. But yeah, PSO2 related, mostly just logging on to do dailies again. That's it.
Gotcha.
I really need to find like something I want to focus on with PSO2, but right now I just have my mind on so many other games that it's hard to focus on PSO2 at the moment.
I mean, it's a game that can be just sort of pick up and play whenever you want. It was designed that way, and and plus, I mean, you're gonna have competing things with that. Plus, what I know you're over in the Phantasy Star Universe Clementine Discord as well. So both of us are really looking forward to that once that finally releases. It was supposed to happen by the end of August, but there were several bugs that popped up, and they're kind of like in a holding pattern until they figure those out.
Yep. Yeah, and I've been very active on that Discord server. So and most of my time is going to be spent on Clementine once that launches.
Yep. And then I guess we can bring this up now as well here. IDOLA is also going to be releasing this week on Thursday as well, so that's also going to be that's going to be exciting as well.
Yeah, so already going into our topics, yes, Phantasy Star IDOLA is launching this Thursday. If you already pre-registered on the app stores on whichever device you use, then you'll be alerted of it, so you can download it then.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see how much of the content is actually available at that point. We had up until the end of Chapter 6 in the beta. I'm going to be really curious if they're actually going to have us all the way to the end of Episode 1. Because that would be nice to be kind of close to where the Japanese side is at that point. Granted, I don't think anybody would be able to actually clear Episode 1 for some time, given that they don't have characters built up.
Yeah. It'll be a while for people to do that, but that's the thing with these kind of mobile games. They take a while to actually finish anything.
Yep.
Except for the beginning parts, because the beginning parts just make it way too easy. there's never a really good balance when it comes to mobile games. And I guess that's because of the problems with trying to make it to where it's focused on purely making a profit.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, so they got to make the all the characters that you can get out of the gacha. They got to make them overpowered, otherwise you wouldn't want them.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, one of the nice things about this game, though, is that you are able to upgrade even your low-class characters into high-class characters in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, it's more about the abilities that each character has that sort of offsets that as well at the same time.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I will play it, but like this is going to be something that I'm probably might drop very early on because I just can't get into mobile games.
And that makes sense. I completely understand on that one. For myself, I'm actually just going to be playing this on a laptop so I can capture it, rather than having it on my phone.
It'll probably be both for me.
Okay.
That way I can actually play it while I'm just lying on my bed or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Nope.
Alright, so that's IDOLA for this week. Comes out Thursday. It's, what can I say? It's gonna be this week's big release, and we'll see if they did manage to establish any ties into PSO2. Hopefully those IDOLA points will be able to be used on the global side. If not, it's a shame, but we also understand if that kind of partnership could not be set up in time. Aside from that, on the...
I hope there is, because that would actually give me reason to keep playing it.
Yeah, you could pick up the different still images of the characters and use them in the lobby.
Those terrible lobby emotes.
Yeah, it's basically a 2D image, so when you try to run around it, it's still always facing you. It's surreal.
But yeah, we'll be talking about our thoughts on IDOLA on the next episode. So,
yep.
Well, good.
All right. Aside from IDOLA releasing this week, as we mentioned before, there's been relatively radio silence. We do have a few updates that we can cover here. Starting off,
very few.
Yeah, it was like almost nothing came out, and that's why we're wondering what's going on if episode 5 potentially might drop this week coming up. But we do have, starting off here with a new concert for Cosmic Twinkle Star and At the End of Light. So Kuna is once again doing a concert series here. In this particular case, you rather down on the main stage, you're going to head up to where you were for the We're Arks and Rare Drop Koi Koi song, and you'll push, you'll activate on that, and that will put you onto the stages that surround Kuna. Cosmic Twinkle Star has basically has a VR fight between Kuna and an AIS against some false spawn that show up. And then At the End of the Light is the ending theme for episode 4.
And also, people have pointed out, her fingers move.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she has to be able to pull those triggers.
Exactly. But I just still find it funny how that's become a giant meme now.
I completely agree. I think it didn't intend for that to happen, but there it is.
Yeah, because I noticed that because someone pointed it out in the PSO2 subreddit.
Yep. So looking at the calendar, it looks like we've got one of those concerts coming up in about 75 minutes here or so, actually. And then there's going to be another tonight at 5:30 Pacific Time, 8:30 Eastern. And then 1:30 a.m. GMT tomorrow. Yep. Nothing special that comes from this. It's just a nice concert, and then you get a 2-hour. I think it's a 25% try boost.
Yep. And as usual with these concerts, it always happens before a urgent quest happens.
Yep. Aside from that, we also got a tweet out about this last thing here.
Not a post on the Reddit, just a tweet.
Yeah, it's real strange.
Yeah.
So this weekend, during urgent quests for the random and scheduled ones, so not the trigger ones, there is a 300% experience boost going on. So if you got any alts that you need to get leveled, or if you want to keep working towards getting Class X cubes for the weapon augment transfer passes, there you go. You can use these to help with those efforts.
Yep. And it ends 9:14 at midnight.
Yep.
Or basically midnight tonight.
Yeah. Alright, aside from that, just a couple of quick reminders here. There is a campaign going on currently for running the Ultimate Amaduskia quest. You get 3 runs of that done, you get 10, or rather, you get 20 star gems. You do another 2 runs after that, you get another 20 star gems. There was also earlier this week a trigger distribution for Deus Esca, which is the boss that came out this week. And lastly, there's also a get free star gem campaign going on. So every day that you logged in, you get 10 star gems, and if you log in for 5 separate days, you get an additional 3 sets of 10 star gems on top of that.
Well, it's just the same as every other free star gem campaign.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is always good.
But yeah, that pretty much ends it for this week's global release updates here. Let's now move into the meat of this one here, which is going to be the updates coming over from over the pond in Japan.
Yes.
All right.
They're getting Luster.
Yes, we are getting Luster on September 16th. So, Luster is the newest successor or scion class, as they're going to be called in the West. And in order to unlock Luster, you need to have at least 2 classes at level 75 plus. So with Luster, there are 3... Go ahead.
It's very easy to get to 75 on Japan.
Yep. Just grab yourself some bonus keys and you're good to go.
Yep.
So there are 3 styles to battle with this particular class, and it depends upon what element is on your weapon that determines what style you're using. And just to be specific, this class, it is a gun/slash focus class. So,
which means it only uses gun slash.
Yep. You can still use like your all-class weapons, of course, but the primary focus for this one is going to be the gun slash, and there's really no reason not to be using that with the way that this thing works. Three styles of battle. There's the Full Mill style, which activates when you equip either a fire or dark element gun slash. It's an offensive style that excels in close range combat. With the skill Full Mill Advance, or rather Full Mill A Advance, you can quickly perform a just attack with the Photon Art that will activate an effect that prevents you from flinching. In addition, if you hold down the normal attack button, you'll store 3 floating blades. Each blade is released upon activating a Photon Art, which causes a gelling effect on the enemy. Holding your weapon action button to continuously thrust at the enemy as well, and the power of the attack rises as you consume all your gear. With the
very interesting class.
Yep, definitely. With the Zandy style, which is a move arts enhancer, this one works when you equip either a wind or lightning element gun slash, and this style is more speed oriented with wide area attacks and suction effects. In other words, it's meant to be used on groups of enemies. With the skills... What?
No, I was just saying,
Gotcha. With the Zandy Dodge Advance, successful evasion causes Photon Arts that hit the enemy to release an additional attack. In addition, holding the normal attack button creates a suction that could stun enemies. And holding the weapon action button generates a field that expands as it consumes gear. Enemies within that field will get hit all at once by lightning bolts. And then you've got the Baran style, which is a stay arts enhancer. That activates whenever you equip a gun slash with ice or light elements. It's a defense-oriented style that excels in guarding and long-range combat. Brand style enhances the distance and guard frames from stay arts. Therefore, an attack that might not reach a faraway enemy under full metal style will likely hit them under Baran style. With the skill Baran Just Guard Advance, successfully guarding an attack will reduce the damage received for a limited time. So that sounds like that sounds to me like even if you do a Just Guard, it's not going to remove all the damage that you're taking.
Yeah, but that's so interesting that it has different styles based off the element.
Agreed.
This is the only job that's doing this, by the way.
Exactly.
No other job changes their playstyle purely off of the element of the weapon.
Exactly, and it's basically throwing the idea of enemy resistances or rather weaknesses out the window, essentially. I mean, it's still going to exist, but it's like, do you want to take the debuff of going light element just so you can hit that elemental weakness? Let's see here. For normal advanced, Baran style will add an extra shockwave attack to reach faraway enemies. In addition, holding the normal attack button generates a field that spawns several drones that attack enemies while binding them.
Mm-hmm.
If you hold the weapon action button, you'll release a long-distance, high-powered range attack that can evolve into a gigantic blast as you consume gear. And then we have
It'll be interesting seeing how the meta around which style is best to use for this. Then,
yep,
it's going to be.
We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So we've also got Luster weapon actions here. There is the weapon action Evade Shoot. So Evade Shoot allows you to lets you dodge and shoot at the same time. And then there's the weapon action Enhance Shoot. Holding down the weapon action activates Enhance Shoot. Here you'll perform a special move depending upon your gun slash's style. And then for the Luster Photon Art System, you've got Move Arts and Stay Arts as two different styles for each Photon Art. They are activated depending upon if you are moving or stationary. So the Photon Art Flechette, you advance towards the enemy, following up with a slashing attack. The Stay Art variant performs a piercing attack on the enemy at light speed. Then you've got the Brand Extension, where you perform spiraling slashes while in motion. The Stay Art variant unleashes relentless slashes ahead. And it looks like you can tell the difference between the left and the right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here, I think it's the top and the bottom. Then we have Slug Scatter. Ascend into the air and sweep the enemies below with bullets. The Stay Art variant blasts the enemies while retreating. And then Hollow Point, hop into the air and shoot a piercing bullet. The Stay Art variant accurately shoots.
So, basically what they did here when it comes to Luster is they designed the class basically to have 3 weapons, but it's all the same weapon.
Exactly. Yep.
That is honestly pretty cool.
Agreed. And then there's also this last thing here, the Smart Photon Art. It's basically a system where it automatically selects the next Photon Art for you based on the situation, such as your distance from the enemy and previously used Photon Arts. Now, from what I understand, when this was originally showed off, this is only going to be the regular damage version. It's not going to be a just attack version or a perfect attack version.
Oh, okay.
So you still need...
Because, yeah, that reminds me of the 2-button action of the old... that I've seen of the old times.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually dealt with when I played on Vita.
Yeah, it was like you had to set up your own custom Photon Art combo back in the day, rather than it just being... you just use whatever you want at any particular moment.
Yeah, it was not good.
And then we've also got some Luster class skills. So, Luster Voltage. Voltage is the stat that accumulates each time an attack hits. This provides bonus attack or bonuses to attack power and damage reduction. If you stop attacking after a while, the voltage will reset and recover HP and photon points in proportion to the voltage reset. And if we click here, we can see that a little bit better here. Voltage is right down in this section here.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so that's an interesting survivability thing.
I agree. It's yeah, whenever you feel like you're in danger that you might go down, just stop attacking and you'll get your HP back.
Although stopping attacks in PSO2 kind of is a bit of a death sentence at times.
Sometimes, yeah. Then we've also got their big ability, which is called Luster Time. This damages the surrounding area upon activation and provides increased photon part recovery and reduced damage taken for 30 seconds. Activating the skill again will release a devastating finishing move. And then
so it's hero time.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's all it is. It's hero time.
Yeah. Yeah, this one, the Luster class is essentially a combination of the 3 Scion classes that already exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it can only use the gun slash. They've also got this Slash Rise ability. This skill will add a slashing attack if you jump during certain attacks. Which is kind of interesting to finally bring the jump button into doing some sort of an attack like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Style Purge. Quickly using the weapon action twice in a row will blast the enemy with an elemental explosion. This attack temporarily puts you into a non-elemental style, and a special enhanced shoot can be performed. So you can even get rid of the element that you're using.
That's interesting.
And then there's Lester Step Slide and Step Slide Advance. Activates a special attack upon the second evasive action. Its performance changes based on the directional input.
So you step dance twice.
Right.
I just said step dance. Step dodge.
Yeah. Well, we're all having trouble saying things today, I think. There's also this extra attack skill, changes the 4th normal attack into a more powerful attack. And then there is the quick shoot skill, which allows for an immediate weapon action and attack after an extra attack or during certain timings for each style. And then with that...
So it very much seems like it's a very mobile class.
Completely agree with that. And yeah, one of the demonstrations that was shown for this class, the developer was basically just constantly dodging and then getting counters off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So for client orders, after acquiring the title in which you level 2 classes to the level 75+, you then head to Coffee to unlock the Luster class. Remember to clear the level cap trial client orders from Coffee while spamming EXP tickets to level the class.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, there is no class representative for this, compared to there being Stratos, Kyokia, and Lucant. So this, you're basically on your own for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there is the Luster Ring as well, which you'll be able to pick up through the typical means of going through the 2 extreme quests that provide the materials for that.
Yep. Get yourself a shining ring to show your dedication to the new Gunslash class.
Yep. So that brings us to the end of the explanation for the Luster class.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, we also had a major PSO2 Station Plus live show that happened earlier this week. So let's go through that now here.
All right.
Now, they're saying that this post is still being updated here, so some of this might change. There's a secret phrase that was released here. It's this one right here. Copy it, paste it into the game. Say it by the before the 16th maintenance, or rather the maintenance on the 16th. And you're going to get yourself, looks like a couple of camos here. The Idol Fan Luther, the Idol Fan Xiao, as well as a Tokyo Key bonus rainbow here.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
then
done one of the I've actually done one of the rainbows on JP, and oh boy, the amount of EXP you get out of that's ridiculous.
yes, indeed.
Clash should have arrived sooner. I wanted to come now.
Yep.
Not just on JP, but on global as well.
I understand that sentiment. Let's see, there was an emergency quest after the show that showed off the Primordial Darkness with a rare drop rate and experience boost. There is a Senran Kagura collaboration coming, which is going to give you costumes from Asuka, Homura, Yumi, and Miyabi, as well as camos, lobby actions, and more. This is going to be released in November. And moving into the...
really hasn't been a Senran Kagura game in a while.
I don't think I ever played any of them, to be honest.
It's a hack and slash with a lot of fan service.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's fun hack and slash, but it's fan service hack and slash, so yeah. Oh, the director left. Oh. Huh.
And yeah, I agree with you as well, Rooks, about Lester having to have arrived earlier than this. You know, after the episode 6 story had ended. I completely agree with you there. Moving on to the main updates that are coming fairly soon. This looks like this is going to be dropping in October here. So Franco's Night Cafe is going to be coming until October 28th, it looks like.
Yeah, and October 28th is going to change then to the Halloween one. Which, by the way, we'll be getting the Halloween lobby next month. Oh, boy.
Yep.
I love the Halloween music lobby music.
Yep. Although I wonder if they're actually going to go with the PSO or the PSU Halloween music this year for global.
Probably PSO.
Let's see. With that update, actually this is mid-September updates. I'm sorry. Let me correct that there. So starting in September, 13-star units can be turned into X cubes. Why would you do that?
I don't know.
14-star weapons can be sold in your shops. You technically could already do that with the Dim series, but I guess this is going to expand it to all the 14 stars. So, if you've ever wanted to get yourself an Elder Sword, then that will be your opportunity to do that. With the Vampiric Blade ability on that is so much HP you get back from that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much essential if you're going to be playing as a gunner fighter. I'm not joking.
I didn't think that was a Oh, you're talking about Vampiric Strike.
Yeah, Vampiric Strike.
Yeah, I'm talking about a weapon that has an unrestricted Vampiric Strike, meaning that it's literally like 10% of the damage you do, you get back in HP.
Oh, so you basically never die.
Pretty much.
Huh. It's a bit over the top. And wait. I'm just looking at the website there now. Are they getting the mission pass?
Yes, they are. We'll get to that a little bit later here.
Yeah, I actually didn't look at the website ahead of time, so I actually didn't know about that. JP's getting the mission pass.
Yeah, it's coming. It's no longer exclusive to the global version, so.
Huh.
Let's see.
So interesting that something that was introduced in global is being added to JP now.
Yep. Let's see here. Going on with the mid-September update again here, they also increased the purchase limits for 15-star weapons and 13-star units to 99 in the Cobalt Metal Exchange Shop. They also added Luminmech Grand Crystals to the Prize Metal Shop. And they increased the purchase limits of 15-star weapons and 13-star units in or rather to 99 in the prize medal shop as well. And then they also added an introductory video for new players, which, yes, indeed, it was already on the NA version as well.
Huh.
That's that intro video that you saw as soon as you got into the ARKS lobby for the first time.
Yeah, it's the Welcome to PSO2 video.
Yeah, that seemed to be its purpose at first, Rooks, but I guess, I don't know, I guess Sega saw how it was doing in the West and decided to just bring it over to Japan to introduce some other stuff.
Yeah, because the Mission Pass is honestly pretty well received.
Yep. We'll see if Japan has the same problem that we have and that you can't get a second copy of things, and maybe they'll finally make a change about that.
I don't know. I hope so.
Yep. So just looking at the images we have here, this is just showing off the changes that they have here. Here's a little preview of the nighttime Franco's Cafe, by the way. And then yes, we do have the mission pass here. What's interesting here, it says it's starting on season 1. So, but what's in the season is completely different from what we had here in the West.
Well, yeah, because JP is a lot further along than NA is, or Global is.
Agreed. But I'm just curious if there's also going to be potentially any, like, costume revivals or things like that in the Mission Pass instead of having it in the AC Scratch or something.
Probably. Gives people a chance to finally get some of the outfits that they missed out on.
Yep. So, Mission Pass system, if you don't know how it works, completing certain ARKS missions will earn you stars. These missions have a variety of tasks, such as clear emergency quests 10 times, defeat 500 enemies, turn in 30 client orders, etc. Collecting stars will raise your tier, and your tier gives you access to rewards shown underneath its tier number. Rewards in purple can be collected as long as you reach that tier, and rewards for gold require a Mission Pass gold ticket to unlock them for that tier. That pass costs 200 star gems to pick up. On the Western version, you basically get those star gems back as you complete the whole thing. We'll see if that holds true for the Japanese version as well. And
Probably.
And Mission Pass Season 1 begins on September 16th and goes until October 14th. And along with that, they're also opening up the Mission Pass Recycle Shop, and you're also going to get some rewards from the Mission Pass as well here. So, you're going to get the Evo device Chibi Rera, which, if you play the story, you know who that is, and it is just the cutest little draconian you've ever seen.
Yes, it is adorable. But yeah, it has some different stuff in the recycle shop than what we have right now.
Exactly.
I.e., the biggest ones being the Sage Crest and the Cobalt medals. Those are pretty big.
But even like the special ability Astral S, Ether F, and Mana Reverie, those are really big as well if you're trying to put units together. And then, of course, you got Grind Cap +1, which will also be useful, say, if you want to, if you've got a weapon that's stuck at a grind of 30 and you're trying to get it up to 35. For instance, the weapon series that came as a part of the Primordial Darkness fight.
Or like getting any of the weapons from shops. Those will always have a grind cap of 30.
Yep. And you can collect mission badges to use in that shop from the Mission Pass tier rewards. So if you decide not to get a costume, that's how you'll get mission badges instead.
Yep, and you also just get mission badges in general from other tiers as well. Yep. Which right now I have a lot of them. So if these kind of stuff eventually make their way to NA on their shop, then yeah, I'm going to save up my badges.
We might see the Astral S and the Ether F soon, if that's the case.
Yeah, and that would be great.
And combine that with the augment, the augment transfer passes, you're gonna have some really powerful units and weapons going into episode 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm. Let's just hope it comes soon.
Yep. Alright, so, moving on to the mid-September AC Scratch Integrate Luster. So for that one, this is basically the Luster outfit that you got here on the left. The new cast part is interesting in that you've got a cast head that has hair on it for some reason.
Weird. But yeah, these are all the Luster outfits for all the different, for the male and female, and then male cast, female cast.
Yep. And the female cast, this is like the first time we've ever actually had like a real robotic head on them.
I know. Wow. It's almost like they should have done that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like having something like that. Like, I understand with the female cast, you still need to make it look feminine, but at least have like a robotic head for the people who want that. It's like the Raw Marl. Or no, not Raw Marl.
Rock Castile?
Yeah,
Hugh
Hugh Castile. Yeah, Hugh Castile. It's like, Hugh Castile is very robotic looking.
Yep.
And I'm just shocked that they never really did any of that when it came to the female cast in PSO2.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. So you're also gonna get the Lester Pose lobby action as well. There's also some other stuff that comes with this AC Scratch here, so let's take a look at that.
A gothic style.
Yep. As well as looks like some wings over here. And then I'm not quite sure what these poses are here. I guess. Unfortunately, I can't read that text there. But it looks like these are maybe Phantom lobby actions or something.
Maybe.
And of course, as we just discussed a few moments ago here, we're also going to get the Luster class that starts next week as well with the update here. We already went through all this before, so we'll skip past that here. Same with all this here. Yeah, yeah, we pretty much covered all this already here, so it's just going to be a really interesting class to finally jump into Luster once that comes out.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to hop onto JP whenever Luster's out, just so I can try it out, see how it is.
Yep, definitely. Now in late September, there's going to be the Otsukimi lobby with Luna Niao showing up. But we do not have Regiment of the Wicked this year.
Regiment of the Wicked?
That was the one that took place in the Nightfaller area.
Oh.
Let's see. The Weaponoid costume election winners will appear in the lobby, and you cleared their client orders to receive their partner cards. So if we take a look here, the one on the right there looks kind of Elderish.
It's very chunky boy.
Yeah. And actually, here's another picture of him. Yeah, the boots there and the shoulders and everything just it just feels like it's Elder. So there's going to be a limited time.
I really like the design. It's
Sorry,
cool.
say it?
I really like the design.
Yeah, I totally agree. So there's going to be a limited time Ignis shop, as well as various character posters. And you're going to see the Ignis NT, the Elder Pain NT. Yeah, that confirms it right there. It's the Elder Pain weapon. As well as the Opterion NT and the Psycha Hyori. And if you're unaware what weaponoids are, those are basically personified weapons that essentially have been given their own personality and such.
Oh, yeah, I can read that. Eruda. So, yeah, it's Elder.
Yep. And then just looking at some of the other costumes we got here. Some of these feel sort of, I don't know what you want to say, samurai-ish in form, I guess?
I guess. It's definitely a more formal outfit.
Yeah, maybe Shinto's the word I'm looking for.
Mm.
And then here's a few more photos of everything here. Once again, the Elder costume. I think this is actually showing off the head unit. And then you got some other wing styles here as well. And a new eyepiece, it looks like.
It's a black heart.
Yeah. So AC Scratch Skilled Weaponoid Costume General Election 2019 winners are going to be included with that, along with Weaponoid Pose 8 and 9 lobby actions, and the Sorcery Pose number 2 scratch bonus. And then along with this update, we have the Viva Las Vegas Emergency Quest. So it is an enemy rush style quest with a max of 48 enemies that can appear simultaneously. Rip Vita.
Oh, jeez.
Which, by the way, Rip Vita, it's happening this week.
Yes. So that's why they're doing this.
Yep, that system would not be able to contain this one.
I guess like this emergency quest is the first one they're doing just to test to see how many enemies they can have show up now that Vita's gone.
Yep. And then your rare drop rate increases based on the score. And Weaponoid NPCs will appear during this quest. And the Emperor Rappy as well as the Izane Kazuchi can also appear. So just looking at what we got here. Yeah, it's in Las Vegas, and it looks like there's going to be a Train Ghidorah showing up as well here at some point.
Oh.
Kind of interesting to see them in the West.
Having Las Vegas that would then be expanded now that Vita's dead. That would actually be pretty good.
We'll have to see what the map actually looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that they have actually expanded the Vegas map to something bigger.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is now the time that they can test some things out now that they're no longer constrained by Vita.
Yeah, do they have a... No, they just have the close map up here, so unfortunately no hints on that one. So with the Viva Las Vegas Emergency Quest, there's going to be a Weapon and Egg collection with that. There's also going to be a new 15-star weapon in the special collection called the RA Blade. And there's going to be a new collection file as well for Hero, Phantom, and Etoro 15-star weapons. So it's going to be the Adult series for Hero weapons, the Seiros series for Phantom weapons, and the Thimble series for Etoro weapons. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, the hero weapons look kind of nice there. Actually, these kind of look like maybe what weapons those characters were supposed to have been using the whole time, potentially.
Yeah, it kind of does look like the weapons from their intro videos.
Yeah. Because I think up until now, it's just been camos in that particular case.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in early October, there's going to be PSO2, the animation, which, okay, somehow that became a meme because they misspelled it, even though they have it correctly up here.
Animation, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Bump, having some fun there, I see.
Yeah. Well, even in the live chat, people were making fun of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so this just looks like outfits of some of the different characters that you could see around. Also, towels from the Hot Springs episode. Yeah, and these are outfits from the anime package bonuses. And then there's also another, let's see, the animation was the start of the early October update. In early October, there's also going to be an Earth Collection update. So...
2 Aika and Itsuki Rina lobby actions.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like we're getting a lot of the costumes from the story characters now, actually. So you got Hitsugi, you got Aika, and Itsuki and Rina here.
That's odd that they waited that long to add stuff from episode 4 there.
Yeah. With early October, there's also going to be an Ark Support Mission, along with an Ark Support Mission campaign reward, which gives you the Globen Era camo, as well as the Evo device Pegita.
And it's adorable.
Yes, indeed, a little penguin-like mag there for you, along with the camo for the Lester class weapon.
Looks pretty cool. It looks like whenever you just activate it, it'll open up and bring out that photon blade there.
Yep.
It's a cool aesthetic. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. And then in mid-October, we have a Wake Up Gridman AC scratch. So that is another collaboration that is going on here.
Gridman.
That's actually kind of a nice costume there.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Even though it's from Gridman, it's like I could see just generally using that as well. Let's see. Also got some accessories here. It looks like from the show.
I've never heard of Gridman.
Neither have I. I mean, I know it was mentioned in a previous PSO2 Station Plus, but aside from that, I've never heard of that before. And then, of course, you'll also get a Caliber weapon action, as well as a Gridman lobby action. And then, there's also going to be some other stuff in the AC Scratch. It looks like there's going to be gender-swapped combat jacket and suit jacket.
Nice.
And along with that, there's also going to be the lobby action for the assault rifle and the launcher. And sorcery pose number 3.
I like that pose.
Yep. Also got
Like
some
the
nice
male
looking...
one right on your knees.
Also got some nice looking wings here as well.
I like the translucent part of it.
Yeah. And then with that, the new pet Vulcan, which is the advanced version of the Synchro Pet, comes out. Photon Arts are strengthened when you link together different Photon Arts. Since the attacks are long, after giving it instructions, you can focus on evasion and support. And Pietro will have new client orders for the new pet as well here. So this is the one that also seemed kind of Hunar-ish in style.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see it. But yeah, it's yet another summon, or yet another pet for summoners to break the damage cap with.
Yep. And then...
Like, I even seen clips on Global. People are already hitting damage cap with Summoner.
Yeah, you just set yourself up with a Marin Rotator, and you're pretty much good to go on that.
Yeah.
And then mid-October as well, you're gonna the cast winners of the character contest, Sigex, as well as Ekru, are going to show up in the lobby. You're also going to get the second Mission Pass season, which is going to have an Evo device Tamahime number 2. And Crest units are going to be available at Zeeg's Exchange Shop. And for each of those, you're going to need 50 of the Primordial Darkstone Daimos, 20 module Shiva, 25 module Mitra, 25 module Varuna, and 50 module X-Core. And there will also be an Ark Support Mission Part 2 as well. Let's take a look at the winners of the... Oh yeah, I like what these casts look like here.
And more robotic-looking female cast. Yes. Yep. So you're not the only one that complains about that.
Yeah, basically right now, until that comes out, I've just got my female characters as bald.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't look the best, but it's better than nothing.
Yep. And then, also in mid-October, there's going to be a new emergency quest, Morning of Demise, which is a 12-player. You'll battle against large hostiles in the Armada of Demise. Once the hordes of enemies are destroyed, you'll move inside the ship, and you'll head to the deepest area to face off against Shiva and Varuna. And this will give you the new 15-star weapon drop, and I guess they're not certain about the name of it. It's going to be, apparently, the Talon Shinaido? So yeah, this is essentially an upgrade to the original Armada of Demise Emergency Quest series.
Again, because Vita's dead.
Yep. Although I don't see the timer at the top, so it may not be in the 3 phases this time.
Interesting. Maybe you're doing all 3 phases at once?
Could be, yeah. It could just be a single quest.
Mm-hmm. And again, because of Vita being dead, they can do that.
Yep. Yeah, they could potentially set up some really long quests now.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for that.
Yep. Although they kind of did that before with the Endless series as well, so we'll have to see how this all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's also going to be an Oracle Halloween collection from October 21st until December 2nd. So you'll get some new lobby actions, as well as just the bench sheet costume here, it looks like.
I love it. It's the best kind of costume for being a ghost on Halloween.
Yep.
You just put a bed sheet on. There you go.
And then, as we mentioned earlier, New Genesis is going to be showing up at the Tokyo Game Show, which will be on September 25th, starting at 2100 hours Japan time.
Yep. Tokyo Game Show is not this coming weekend, but the next weekend. So me and Brightstar will be watching for some of these. I know I'm focusing on the Square Enix stuff because they will be showcasing some stuff about Dragon Quest X. But thing is like, don't expect any of the stuff that's shown on Tokyo Game Show to come out in the West because it's focused on Japanese games.
Agreed. Yep. I'm curious if maybe we should try doing like a live dialogue during the thing or not.
Oh, live commentary?
Yeah,
I would be down for that.
I mean, it's really going to depend upon how much information they actually give us. Like, are they only going to give us like a 5-minute trailer, or are they going to give us like an actual 30-minute, 1 hour sort of thing to talk about it?
I would like a full demonstration of the game, hopefully.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to translate much here, so we'll just kind of be reacting to what we're seeing.
Yep. Because we don't speak Japanese.
Yep. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of this week's updates in terms of everything that was brought up here. Now, we do still have some of those developer interviews to go through. Two of them left from Polygon series. So let's go ahead and bring that up now, unless you had anything else you wanted to bring up quickly here, Zance.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Then we'll move into the one talking to some of the programmers from the game. Now, do you want to take the point of Polygon, or do you want to take the programmers?
I'll take the side of Polygon this time.
Okay.
And we could it looks like there's 4 people that are that they interviewed on this one, or 3.
Yeah.
No, it's 3 people, or no, like 3 people, right? Satsuma, Miura, and Takahashi.
Yeah.
So we can alternate on that if you want that.
Yeah, I guess that works as well.
Alrighty. So yeah, we are a bit behind with these developer interviews of going over these. So we're going to try to do this one. If we have time, then we'll do the last one. If not, then we'll save that for next week. Unless there's just too much news that comes out.
Yeah, there's just been so much news as of late. We haven't been able to keep up with this one.
Anyway, let's do this here. Alright, now we're digging into the nitty-gritty with a roundtable featuring 3 original team members. Lead programmer Akio Setsumasa, character programmer Yasuhiro Takahashi, and enemy programmer Masakazu Miura. Younger gamers who have grown up with the always-on connected nature of today's consoles won't necessarily remember the excitement, aggravation, or challenges of connecting a Dreamcast, PlayStation, or Gamecube, or Saturn if you were really ambitious. Wait, the Saturn could do online? What?
It was only on the Japanese side, I think, but I do remember them having some sort of a modem.
Okay. Yep, to the internet on a dial-up modem. With Phantasy Star Online, the designers and programmers at Sonic Team found themselves in uncharted territory. For instance, there was no way to patch a console game in those days. Sonic Team had to try to get everything right before it committed the game to disk, and was only able to fix mistakes with the release of Phantasy Star Online Episode 2. Read on for revelations. Well, actually, no, it's not Phantasy Star Online Episode 2. They fixed mistakes in version 2.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, that was still on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, Episode 2 was Episode 1 and 2, which was on the Game Boy, or on the GameCube. Game Boy. It was on the GameCube and the Xbox.
And yeah, I remember what you're talking about there, Brooks. I think it was called the X-Band service at the time that helped match you with players across multiple cities and such through dial-up connections.
Yeah, it was slow. But it worked. Anyway, hello, since there are 3 of you, it would be great if you could introduce yourselves and describe your individual roles on Phantasy Star Online.
So this is Aiko Satsuma. My name is Satsuma for Phantasy Star Online. I was in charge of system engineering related tasks such as servers, communication, server management, and quest systems. On top of that, I also did quite a bit of game design in terms of planning the gameplay.
And I'll do Takahashi here.
Okay.
You were involved from the prototype stage, correct? Before a game is made, there's an experimental stage, figuring out which game mechanics are going to work, etc. And Setsumasa was involved from that stage.
Mostly I did server management and operations. For the Blueburst version that was released for PC, I was the director of on the project.
I am Takahashi, and I joined the project after most of the base systems were established, and I ended up working on a lot of the character aspects of the game, so designed the protagonist, the bosses, and the enemies. I worked on the game select screen and world select screen too.
And here we have a picture of the 3 of them here.
They look nice.
Yep. Aiko on the left, Masakazu on in the middle, and then Yoshihiro on the right.
When you say you were working on character designs, do you mean how they would function or the actual visual design?
To be more specific, I worked on enemy AI, how the characters are animated and so forth, and how you can design your character, adjust their height or color. And I'll take...
do you want to do Miura, or I can do it?
I'll take Miura. My name is Miura, and I joined the project around the same time as Takahashi. I was responsible for enemy designs, both regular enemies and boss enemies. And when I say designs, I mean their AI and so forth.
We're now approaching the series' 20th anniversary. You were all 20 years younger when you started working on the game. Looking back, what are your feelings about PSO now that you have the benefit of hindsight?
We're all still currently supporting Phantasy Star Online 2, and we worked on the various PSO games that came between PSO and PSO2, so it feels like 20 years crept up on us. Working on it every year, it feels like it's been short and long at the same time.
It's hard to tell if we've changed at all. An interviewer. So it's not like you worked on PSO and then there was a void of 20 years. Phantasy Star Universe, Zero, Nova, Portable, etc. all filled the gap.
Yeah, it feels like it crept up on us. And then Mura says it's our life's work.
And Takahashi, I was involved in designing the characters, so during development we were very concerned and focused on how to make the best experience for players. Because it's a network game, so we had to design the game in a certain way. We were wondering how we should design the game systems and how we should put all the elements together to make a fun experience. So even for me individually, it was a tough process in terms of development, but I learned a lot through experimentation.
For me personally, I had no idea 20 years ago what a network game was supposed to mean, and I was primarily concerned about making a game that players would enjoy. But I had no idea that PSO would become this big, and that we would expand the PSO IP to the extent that it has today. So the fact that you came all the way to Sega in Tokyo to ask about PSO is something that makes me very happy.
Can you describe what the first meetings were like? Was it, according to legend, originally called Third World before changing to Phantasy Star Online?
I don't remember the original title, but it wasn't Phantasy Star themed. It was originally supposed to be a new IP with an original universe. It was scheduled to be a sci-fi RPG, but the specifics of the game world had not been decided.
For the team's first online game, why did you all decide to make a science fiction game versus a more traditional fantasy game?
It just happened to be a sci-fi game. I'm not sure. At the beginning, there was a city. The city you see in the final game, that was designed first. That area showed the feeling we were going for, and that we wanted to reproduce on the Dreamcast hardware. I believe it grew out from that original concept.
Is that the hub city in PSO?
Yes, pretty much the same city as it was originally conceived. Now, I'll also add that in some of the original teasers for PSO, the city looked a little bit different than it did today, or rather at release.
I'm going to try to find some of those original teasers. Because that would be very interesting to see how vastly different it was.
Yeah, you kind of have to go back to, like, the original teaser from, like, 1999, I think. I think it's the one where they say, in the year 2000, Sega would release Phantasy Star Online. It just had this like really epic opening, real time, the whole world, things like that.
Yep, I found it.
Okay.
I found it. All right, I'll make sure to take a look at that then, because that would be interesting to see.
Yep. The interviewer...
So the team naturally evolved and organically became PSO as we know it.
Initially, the programmers were working on testing the game mechanics, and the artists were off making character designs and the environments, but they were struggling to come up with those designs. So producer Yuji Naka suggested using the Phantasy Star universe, and the team was okay with that. Once it was decided to use the Phantasy Star universe, things really started to come together in terms of the visual aspect of the game. And just to note, not Phantasy Star Universe, that came out later in 2006. We're talking about the original Phantasy Star Algol series, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Early preview builds of the game showed the Diablo influence. You'd clear out areas and hope that the enemies would drop cool items. Was the team assigned to play Diablo inside and out?
Yes, I played Diablo quite a bit. There was only Diablo and Ultima at the time for network games that we could use as references. The whole concept started with making a game like Diablo, but when showing it to the artists, they didn't think it was artistically appealing and thought it was too dark. So I knew that we couldn't just make a Diablo game. It had to be created to our market. So we put our heads together to figure out how best to bring a Diablo-like game to Japanese consumers.
And Takahashi here. We played quite a bit of Diablo in the office, didn't we? I remember that we had Diablo and Ultima Online installed on the PCs in the office, and we had play sessions where we would watch people play Diablo. It was through watching Diablo and Ultima in the offices that we saw the appeal of playing online and networked games.
I tried to get people to play these games to understand the appeal, but their responses were pretty lukewarm. So I was forced to think about how to make PSO interesting to the rest of the team, and ultimately to the consumer. To go back even further, at the point where it was decided we were going to make a game for the Dreamcast, we decided that network games were going to be the next big thing. So we requested the inclusion of a modem in the hardware. We knew that if the modem was an optional peripheral, nobody would play the game.
That's actually interesting. Huh.
And that kind of goes also to other hardware devices you've seen in the past within the gaming universe here. I mean, you think back to like the Kinect and things like that, and how Microsoft eventually tried to force that into being part of the Xbox One ecosystem. Nobody
would have bought it individually past the initial launch of it.
Exactly. And developers just wouldn't have developed games for it.
Yep. To be fair, the Kinect kind of sucks, but even then, like, you got some decent experiences out of it for the people that actually knew how to use it.
Oh yeah, Dance Central and Dance Masters, pretty much all the dancing games at least work pretty well for it.
Any of the dancing or workout games, they work fine.
Yep.
Everything else, no. But yeah, continuing on here. If the modem was optional, you would have had a split user base, so it was integral for everyone to have the same hardware. Diablo is played from an isometric viewpoint, but PSO is played in the third person, which I find a lot more attractive because you can see the details of your character better. Was this a conscious decision?
We did make an isometric prototype of PSO, but there wasn't enough action and excitement in the gameplay, and there are big dragons in the game. And our team talked about wanting to be able to look up at the dragons from the perspective of the protagonist. So we decided it would be better to make the game from a third-party view.
Choo Choo Rocket was Sonic Team's tech demo to test the Dreamcast network capabilities in terms of funneling data, but PSO demanded a lot more out of the online play. What were the brainstorming sessions like? Were there lots of ideas that didn't make it into the game because of the hardware limitations? And Takahashi here saying, we were all part of Sonic Team, so we were able to gain the necessary network know-how through Choo Choo Rocket's development. Through Choo Choo Rocket, we figured out how to offer 4-player online multiplayer gameplay, so we were able to use that experimental knowledge to build PSO. It's because of Choo Choo Rocket that we realized that we can make a game that offers online communication between 4 players. At the same time, the team also figured out how to build 3D games through their experience with Sonic Adventure. Taking these two experiences, we figured out our capabilities and limitations, and we were able to communicate this to the planning team early on. That really helped us lay out the scope of the project from the beginning, and we had a smooth start, although maybe it's just that my memory fails me. It may have taken us some time to convince the planning team of the limitations, but Setsumasa was in those early concept meetings, so he was able to tell the planners that we could and couldn't do, or what we could and couldn't do. There weren't really any problems, especially since we had a prototype to refer to.
There were also scope discussions about making the game so that it could be played worldwide.
A lot of the conceptual ideas came from Naka, Miyoshi, and Sakai, but when it came to the technological aspects of the team that were doing the technological aspect, it was our part of the team that was doing all the grunt work. In terms of our aspirations at the time, we wanted to make an online console game that we could sell and connect people onto a worldwide basis. To Setsumasa, do you remember what those early conversations were like?
The biggest difference between PSO and PC games was the fact that we were making an online game for the Dreamcast. So a lot of those early meetings that we held were focused on how players were going to be able to communicate with each other effectively, because that's a big part of online games. Unlike PCs, the Dreamcast didn't come with a keyboard, so we had to figure out ways for players to send each other messages. We had a few different systems. We had the word select screen, where you could select between different words and phrases. We had the symbol chat screen as well. We tested all of these features out, and a lot of them did make it into the game. The focal point of a lot of these early meetings was how players were going to effectively talk to each other with alternative methods to the keyboard. Another feature we discussed from early on was how to simplify the process of getting players online, because that was still quite complicated back then. And then Miura here says, there was a lot of discussion about how to best bring an online game to the home console.
The Dreamcast keyboard was already out by the time PSO launched in late 2000, early 2001. And Takahashi saying, I believe the keyboard was only out when we released Choo Choo Rocket.
Yes, it was.
But we couldn't assume the customer would own a keyboard because the Dreamcast came with only the controllers. So we had to make sure that at the minimum, you could chat using a Dreamcast controller. And the interviewer saying, PSO had a really elegant chat system utilizing icons to communicate. It's impressive that you were able to compress so much info into such a limited space. How big was the development team overall?
I think we had 10 programmers on the team, give or take.
3 on servers. How much in planning? Another 10? And 15 artists? A couple people for sound. Altogether about 40? That sounds right. Maybe better check the final credits on YouTube. But 50 people max.
No, I don't think there were 50. It's important to remember that PSO wasn't the only project we were working on at the time, so there was a lot of overlap with other projects we were working on.
Nowadays, 50 people is a modest team. You look at Call of Duty and they have hundreds of people, if not thousands. To accomplish what you did in basically uncharted development territory with only 50 people is very impressive.
It was a big team back in the day. Actually, Sonic Adventure had a lot more staff on their team. It does seem modest compared to the team on Sonic Adventure.
Oh hey, it's a picture of Dragon.
Yep.
Okay. That's cool. Especially because Sonic Adventure seems like a much more traditional game experience. Besides the cutscenes, you're basically running forward most of the time, and there weren't all those networked multiplayer hurdles to overcome. It's more of a traditional game experience. PSO was entirely unique.
That's true.
What were the most challenging technical aspects of the game?
As mentioned earlier, we were all on the Sonic team, so we had a lot of experience with action games, so I was pretty confident that we could pull off the action portion of the game. It was really the network portion that concerned us. I wasn't sure how we were going to keep players online while playing an action game without major latency.
We spent quite a bit of time on the packets.
Yeah, the digital communication of the development was the most challenging aspect, because this was before high-speed modems. We had to use the Dreamcast modem in order to communicate, so we had to figure out how to have the least amount of lag time while playing the game.
We had to figure out how to reduce the number of packets that were being transmitted by the hardware in order to reduce data, and calculate how much data players were using, etc. Because if there's too much lag in the game, an action game wouldn't be fun, so we had to figure out how to minimize the amount of packets the game was broadcasting. The packets also determined the character's movement, because they had to move in ways that would minimize data transfer.
So we had to figure out how to transmit the packets, and how to communicate as infrequently as possible, while allowing for an experience that did justice to action games, so that players didn't feel a sense of incongruence when playing the game. And you can see how that all played out in PSO, in the fact that enemy positions are not going to be the same across each of the games that are in the same mission.
Yep, and that's actually the same in Portable as well.
Yep.
Like you could, like in Phantasy Star Portable 2, I was actually playing some games online with some people through PPSSPP, and I would be at one point hitting an enemy on my screen, but then I'd see the person I'm playing with like over on some other place, but they are also hitting the same enemy that I'm attacking. So while we're both attacking the same enemy, they're just on different positions on each of our screens, and that's actually what happens in PSO as well.
Yep.
It's a very clever way of being able to limit the amount of information that has to be sent. No. The characters ran at a standardized speed, and you couldn't run and shoot at the same time. You had to stop and shoot. You can't jump in the game either. Was this a very deliberate design choice to reduce the amount of data that had to be sent back and forth?
Yes, those design elements, were due to the limited capacity of the of the packet transfers, and that was something that I made clear to the planning department at the beginning of the development. We expressed which actions were and were not possible with the intent of putting the game online.
There were things that we were able to implement at a later date, but initially, anywhere where there was an on-off switch, like the command for opening a door, the command could only be switched on once and couldn't be turned off. So in the example of a door, you can open the switch but not close it. The reason being that there was no guarantee that the command would be delivered through the network in time to sync with other commands. So you could send the command to open the door, but we couldn't keep track of another person possibly closing the door. So once the door was open, it had to stay open. So back to the point of the character's movement and design, those were limitations due to the game being on a network, and the on-off switch limitation was another example of where the game was restricted due to being an online game.
So the parameters were presented to the planning team were quite granular from the start.
It's really amazing from a design standpoint how you had none of the modern technical advancements we had today. High-speed broadband, enormous memory storage, and you still made it work. The gameplay never suffered from not being able to close a door. There wasn't really a reason to have to close a door. Monsters didn't cross those barriers. It was a very elegant experience that people don't realize was designed out of necessity. On a side note, when you're creating your character, you can make a big character bigger, or take the smallest character class and make the tiniest version of that. Did that expand or contract the hitbox of the character, and were there any interesting anomalies that occurred as a result? For example, if you were a tiny character, could you exploit the weakness of a large monster? Anything like that?
So Miura here says the visual attributes of the characters were purely cosmetic, and their abilities were identical. The reason we did this was if there were advantages to being visually different, we assumed that players would all choose the character that was most advantageous. Even the hitboxes were the same, regardless of the size of the character. We wanted players to design their character purely on how they looked, without considering the consequences of their choices. However, there were minor issues. You could call them bugs, I guess, or unintended consequences. Depending on the height of the character and the guns they held, the aim and target would differ slightly. Other than that, the characters functioned the same way.
Huh, interesting. So all of them have the same exact hitbox and hurtbox.
Yep. Which I think was changed for Phantasy Star Universe, because I remember there being some sort of a word select in that where you could say you could take advantage of tiny or something like that.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to... I would need to go back and look at it again, but that's just something I do remember from back in the day.
So when I make my Force character, I should make her small then, right?
I guess.
Alright. PSO was intended as a multiplayer game, of course. But it also supports a single-player mode by allowing offline play with the same character you use online. It was nice to be able to enjoy the game without going online, but the single-player experience was more or less identical to the online experience, minus allies, which could be quite tedious. Was this your original intention? Were you aware of the limitations of playing single-player?
Yes, the balance of the game was the same for multiplayer and single-player.
Did we adjust the perimeters? I feel like I remember making a table. And actually, yes, the single player, the enemies are weaker and not as many show up.
Correct.
So yes, there is a difference between playing single player and online. Anyway, the enemies all had very predictable routines. You could run in and attack or shoot at them and they would all come sliding towards you. So the standard practice was to get a couple of hits in, run out of the zone, and wait until they walked away again, then repeat. It was a little cheap, but there was no other way to really deal with crowds. This was really the only way to survive in single player. No, it wasn't. You just need to play the game better. Scrub.
Yep. I agree with you there, although early game, it kind of is like that. Satsuma here says, "You're right. PSO was very deliberately designed for both single-player and multiplayer. When playing in multiplayer, you could clear a single stage or battle faster as a group than playing alone. But we did make it so that if you went back into an area, you could shoot the enemy from afar. Otherwise, given the way the game was designed, you would get killed. One of the objectives for us was that the gameplay wouldn't change too drastically between modes. We tried to make a unified experience, but we wanted to give players some variety in how to approach the game. So we also had difficulty levels, normal, hard, and very hard, so that players could choose the level they were comfortable with. And of course, later on, they added the ultimate difficulty as well."
Yep, they added that in version 2, but the way that ultimate difficulty was designed in version 2 was more so geared towards like the cheaters.
Yeah, they basically wanted to make it so that all the cheated gear basically became useless.
Yeah. So if you want to challenge yourself, then get version 2 and play in ultimate difficulty. Try to do that as a solo humor. I doubt you're going to survive. Anyway, continuing on. In creating the loot system, how did you decide how many items you would put in the game?
We initially decided on the total number of items and their ranks and strength. Then we calculated how many unique images we would need, and that was limited by the artist's capacity to create the graphics. So whatever the artist was able to produce within the development cycle capped the number of items we could put in the game.
Come to think of it, I don't think we maxed out the GD-ROM storage capacity. Do you remember?
In terms of memory space, the graphic data didn't take up too much space. It was the sound data that took up a lot of space. It's always the sound data.
Honestly, it always is. I'm not even joking. Like, when it comes to the vast majority of even modern games right now, because they don't compress their music or sound effects, that's why the storage is just stupidly high.
Yep.
Why did, like, I don't care about uncompressed audio, because that uncompressed audio just makes the game files just way too big, and it really doesn't need to be uncompressed.
I will note this. Actually, PSO2 does use compressed audio in the form of HCA, or as it's also known, ADX2.
Mm-hmm. It's just everything else that makes up its big size.
Yeah.
But it's a big game, so that makes sense. I don't know. People need to learn how to compress their shit again, because they can do it on the Switch. Or at least Nintendo can.
Yep.
Anyway, and you couldn't patch anything afterwards, so...
No, nothing like that. It was difficult deciding on the appearance rate of the items. We wondered if we set an item to appear once every millionth play, would it ever appear if there weren't enough people playing the game? We had to use our best judgment to balance the rates at which items dropped. After the game was released, it was released when we heard from people playing the game that a certain rare weapon had dropped, because there was nothing we could do if it didn't work. We just had to have faith.
There were rumors about certain weapons not dropping. As a programmer, I would have liked to have patched the game, but there was no system in place to send patches. There were talks of using memory cards as a way of distributing patches, but the issue was memory caps on memory cards, and the number of times it would work and where it would work, etc.
Yeah, and back in the Dreamcast days, you could only fit one character on one of those VMUs.
Yep. Hence why I now have 3 VMUs for my Dreamcast.
Yeah, and I picked up one of those 1x4s a while back when I was still playing the Dreamcast, so that gave me 4 characters on a single card.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Didn't we have a download quest?
And Satsuma says.
Yep. Yes, we did do a download quest. In PSO, you could download the script and data for a new quest onto your system. And if you completed that quest, you would get an item. If we got a complaint from a user that a certain item wouldn't drop, we set it up so that they could download this download quest. By completing a quest, they could get a particular item. We couldn't patch the data or fix an issue that a player encountered, but as a means of customer support, we could deliver a particular item to them.
Huh, interesting. So I could just So back then, I could have just complained to Sega that the red ring would never drop, and they would just give me a quest for the red ring.
I guess so.
Yeah, I'm joking, by the way, but
yeah, I don't know if that was actually in the data or not.
Red ring, I believe, was in Dreamcast.
Okay.
I think I'll have to check. But I'll look after I say this part here. In regards to the rarities of games' best weapons, because the red boxes were the rare drops, what was your algorithm like to determine what the drop frequency was? Was it like 0.05% or something? Is there a specific item that is the rarest drop?
We laid out in an Excel sheet all the items and roughly how frequently they would appear per X number of plays. We didn't do a simulation of the number of times it would take for an item to drop. We just punched out the numbers depending on how frequently we thought it would be appropriate.
Okay, so it looks like the red ring started from episode 1 and 2.
Okay.
So the GameCube, Xbox, and Blue Burst. Alright. And I believe, like, when it comes to one of the rarest drops, I think the Sealed J sword is probably up there.
Probably, yeah. And it looks like they're about to go into that here.
Yep. In English, we call the particular phenomenon with PSO the black screen of death, aka BSOD. What happened?
You skipped something there.
Happened if you wait? What?
I think you skipped the interview.
Oh yeah,
before.
I think there was something in Blue Burst. Yeah, and that Blue Burst one was probably Sealed J sword.
Okay.
Anyway, in English, we had a particular phenomenon with PSO, the black screen of death, aka BSOD. That's blue screen of death. What are you talking about? Which happened if you lost your network connection while you were loading into another area. 9 times out of 10, your game data would be corrupted and you lose everything. Since player data was console stored, not server stored, there was no such thing as data recovery. How did you guys handle that?
This was a really serious issue for us. I can only apologize. For the Dreamcast version, we released a version 2 shortly after the initial release. Since we couldn't patch the game, we had to release an entirely new version. And we shipped version 2 immediately, in part to deal with this issue. In addition to fixing bugs, we also added some content as well. I remember we did that in a really short period of time, and it was a difficult time.
We included the bug fixes, but that was the point. But we included new content to convince the users to buy the new version. I wonder how long it was before we had version 2 available.
It was within 6 months. Also, there were a few issues with the server that we were able to circumvent from our side using backdoor fixes. I recall that those were quite difficult to fix. So we have an image of a Dreamcast here.
Yeah, it's a nice image.
Yep. And then the interviewer goes on.
Were there server issues in version 2.0?
No, there were a few in the first version, and for version 2.0, we fixed the server side of things. There were similar issues with the GameCube version as well. That's why we released Phantasy Star Online version 2 for Dreamcast and Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2 Plus for GameCube. Again, patches didn't exist, so this was the only way to fix bugs in the game. Okay, I need to make a correction here that I don't know if they forgot about this. With the initial release of the GameCube version in Japan, there was a major duping bug that had been found. It was so bad that they actually released a version 1.1 almost immediately after 1.0 came out. And it was so bad that they didn't want the players to be able to play with each other. So the Japanese 1.0 server was essentially kept separate from the 1.1 server, and that lasted for, I want to say, about 6 months to a year after 1.1 came out, and then it was taken down. And I know that because I have the Japanese version, and it has the bug on there.
Huh.
You basically had to mail in for a version 1.1, and since I didn't have a Japanese address, I couldn't get the 1.1 disc.
Well, that's honestly pretty interesting.
Yep. Let's see. Mira then says, it was quite serious, but those were the limitations with the technology at the time. The system was developed to use the same data for online and offline play, using the same memory card. It was prone to critical errors under normal circumstances. I still feel bad for the inconvenience to users. So I think there they might be referring to the double save bug that occasionally popped up that could potentially corrupt data.
Also, I do want to briefly mention the duping bug you mentioned. That is still a thing in 1 and 2 on GameCube.
Yep.
That's actually used in speedruns.
Yeah, it's just the method to do it is different now. It has more to do with the shops, I think, compared to what it was previously, where it was just simply start a local multiplayer game and drop some items and pick them up on another character, and then just remove or rather don't save how a character was saved in that game before before turning off the power or something like that.
Huh.
So yeah, it was like a really easy duping bug compared to the version of that exists currently. Moving on, Satsuma here says, the crash didn't delete the save data, just the equipment data. This was actually part of an anti-cheating mechanism that was in place so that players couldn't tamper with the equipment data. There was another game released around the same time, not from our company, but a game that had a similar bug, and the network crash would lead to duplicating the equipment data. So this led to players duping the equipped items and tipping the balance of the game. Basically killing the game because weapons were all collected. We decided that it would be better if the equipped data disappeared rather than increasing. That's why the items disappeared when the game crashed, which was regretful for the player.
It was supposed to be a tactic to prevent people from exploiting the game during loading. In other words, it was intentional that the equipped items disappeared.
Yes, it was intentional. And then Miura here says, there was a loophole during loading that made it possible for players to cheat the game. We temporarily removed the equipped data during loading and returned the data after loading. With this bug, the game reverted back to the save data without the equipped data. But without this system in place, the equipped data would multiply every time the game loaded. So the root of the bug was placed there to prevent cheating the game. Yeah, that's why the bug was inevitable.
Boy.
We put in a lot of preventative measures to keep people from cheating the system, so when this bug was discovered, I regretted that we had possibly gone too far.
Yeah, that actually happens even to this day, of people trying to put in anti-cheat things, but it goes too far. Like on PC, trying to do anti-cheats that go to the root of your system.
Oh yeah, rootkits
It's
are never
too
fun.
far. No, it is just too far. And actually, Doom Eternal tried doing that, and it got so much backlash that it got removed.
Yep.
So, continuing on. With the GameCube and Xbox versions of PSO, did their advanced hardware in relation to the Dreamcast enable you to do anything under the hood to improve the game?
The GameCube system had online compatibility, but it wasn't a default accessory with the console. So we weren't sure how many people would play online. We assumed the worst scenario, that not a lot of people would play online. So we added the 4-player split-screen multiplayer in order to give GameCube players another option to play. GameCube was also superior hardware, which made the 4-player split-screen possible. Originally, Nintendo was only going to release the GameCube with a 56K modem only, not the broadband adapter. When Sega announced that PSO was going to be released on the GameCube, Nintendo received a lot of requests from consumers to offer a broadband adapter.
The Xbox version, even though it was running on the most powerful console at the time, which also had an internal hard drive, ended up being the most hacked version of PSO.
There was a request from Microsoft to utilize as many Xbox exclusive features as possible. I think we also included voice chat.
Which, yes, they did. Why did you choose the GameCube over PlayStation? Nintendo was pushing back on online games at the time, and considering its views on network games.
When we were comparing PlayStation 2 to GameCube's capabilities, it turned out that PlayStation 2 wasn't as powerful. and there were a lot of things that made it difficult to develop on PlayStation 2. For example, we could only use 16-color textures. When doing a side-by-side comparison, it was easier to port to the GameCube over the PlayStation 2. So really, if we infer that a little bit here, we might have gotten Phantasy Star Universe on the GameCube if only the disc size had been bigger.
Yep. But that's so interesting that they decided that they chose GameCube over PS2 for PSO, but then went back to PS2 for PSU.
Yep.
Huh. Which of the bosses was the most difficult to design?
The Derole dragon. Really, it's more of a worm, but yeah.
Oh boy, Devorlay. Yeah, the dragon that swims around the boat.
Yes.
Oh boy,
772.
fighting that thing is not that fun as a humor.
Yeah, you kind of need to learn the pattern with that guy to be able to take it down efficiently.
Yep. Of all the Japanese MMO-style games after PSO, which one do you think inherited the spirit of PSO the most? Takahashi says Monster Hunter, which, yeah, I agree on that. It's Monster Hunter.
Yes, Monster Hunter. The main programmer on Monster Hunter even said himself that he plays a lot of PSO2. I'm sorry, PSO. We're actually quite close, and actually have used Monster Hunter as reference for making the newer PSO game. So the influence goes both ways.
Yep, and I definitely see that.
Yep.
Nowadays, a device like the iPad seems easily as powerful as the GameCube was back then. Has the idea ever come up to port PSO to modern devices? Seems like it could coexist peacefully with PSO2 because it's more of a nostalgic experience.
There's the question about how to port the controls to a tablet.
The Apple TV has a controller.
True.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to play PSO on a tablet, no.
Yeah, they had an opportunity to do it for like the 3DS, and potentially even now with the Switch as well.
Which, that would be amazing having PSO on the Switch.
Agreed.
Yeah. There's an incredible desire to play the original without having to have a Dreamcast or GameCube. People are really hungry to re-experience that world, but the obstacles to do so are a hassle to work around.
Bringing back the Blueburst servers is probably the easiest way. It's true. It would be nice to do so.
What do you think would be the best hardware? Switch?
Sure, I would like to put it on the Switch. There's a feature on Switch called Cloud Gaming, where people stream the game instead of storing the game on the hardware. I think that would be an option.
No.
No, PSO is small enough that you can just fit it on the memory card.
Yes. So, the cloud gaming thing. I know that's a thing for PSO2, but no. If you were to do a modern, a modern release of PSO, don't do the cloud gaming there.
Totally agree. But that brings us to the end of this part of the interview.
So, thoughts on that?
Let's see here, Drake. The Switch is too underpowered. No, the original Phantasy Star Online, it wouldn't be that underpowered for that.
Yeah.
It's underpowered for PSO2, I will admit that.
That's why it does the cloud thing.
Yep.
That. But for the original PSO, definitely not.
Yep. But yeah, it's interesting seeing how all the different design elements had to be figured out first before they really could even get into any of the nitty-gritty of building the different areas and such.
Yep, and obviously, when it comes to the Monster Hunter, like Monster Hunter being influenced by PSO, yeah, that makes the most amount of sense.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot. I can easily find a lot of games that came out around during that time that were definitely inspired by PSO. Hell, like one of the games that I play is a guilty pleasure. It's not a good game, but I like it because of reasons I don't even know. Digimon World 4. The way that it's designed of being a very multiplayer focused action RPG, but in an isometric viewpoint instead of the full third person. It really feels like it wants to be a PSO wannabe.
Yeah, and it's interesting that had the game not been so dark in the West, that we could have actually had something that was more Diablo style in Japan as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that wouldn't have sold in the Eastern market.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, what were you gonna do with that? Make it yokai themed and such?
I guess that could work. But yeah, that is pretty interesting, and I think we've gone long enough now, so we'll save the last part of this, which talks about the future of PSO, for next time then.
Yep, next time or the time after, depending upon how much information comes out next week. Once again, just a real question mark in terms of why there was so little information this week in terms of if we're going to be getting episode 5 next week or if it's going to be coming in 2 weeks. And we're just getting some training instead.
And yeah, I'm also glad that it wasn't super dark like Diablo. I'm with you on there, Rooks.
Yep. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to bring up here today, Zance?
Nothing I can mention. Clementine will be soon, so keep an eye on that.
Yep. Yeah, we are both going to be doing streams of that, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. We'll probably co-stream it, more than likely.
Yeah. All right. And so with that, that brings us to the end of this episode. On behalf of Zance and myself, thank you for joining us today. Day has dawned. Have a great day, everyone.
Johnny.